Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Crow Wing County Board meeting. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you do roll call?
Commissioner Coring,
Present.
Commissioner Lubke,
Present.
Commissioner Barrows,
Present.
Commissioner Franzine,
Here.
Commissioner Hoag.
Here.
All members are present, Madam Chair.
Open forum. Ron, if you'd come forward, state your name and address for the records.
My name is Ron Brusman. I live at 10298 County Road 23 in Maple Grove Township. And what I'd like to talk a little bit about this morning is I know that there's some monies that have been coming in for the opioid settlement. And I'd like to talk about what I think would be a number one concern would be to establish a detox program here in Crow Wing County. I've been a chemical dependency counselor here in Crow Wing County for 25 years. And in that time, we did have a detox out here at the state hospital, and it was very available, and anybody from the county that would be there, I would get a call, and I'd go out and see that person, and they say it takes one to know one. I'm also a recovering alcoholic, and I believe we have a lot of people here in this community that are peer support people that could be hired in a program like that, and I think there are a lot of buildings around that could be converted into a detox facility. Right now, I mean, where do they go? They go to St. Cloud or Pine Manor or someplace, but right here, you could get the family involved, and it would be more convenient. I think in the long run, it would be financially responsible to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The minutes from the February 14th County Board meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hoag, a second by Commissioner Lubke. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag, Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Review and approve the agenda. Do you have anything?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to add under additional business resolution 2023-12.
Is there anything else? Okay.
Motion to approve.
Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve with the addition.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Barrows.
Have a motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Lubke. All those in favor?
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Motion passes. Consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
To have a motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Lubke.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Community services. The first thing on the agenda is the public health nuisance abatement. Oh. Sorry.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Gina Heyer. I'm the Community Health Manager at Crow Wing County Community Services. With Public Health, we have been working on a nuisance abatement case on the 5,000 block of County Road 138 in Garrison. Upon investigation of this property, we did find a public health nuisance does exist. Public Health is concerned with the identification of surfacing sewage from the property's drain field. The property owner has been notified via hand-delivered letter and direct verbal communication. The landowner did not comply within the dates and deadlines as provided from Public Health. And we are here today to ask your permission to move forward with acquiring a compliance inspection and system repair as deemed necessary for abatement of this public health nuisance. The property up there is highlighted with the teal color, Roosevelt Township. And can you move forward?
Is the lake there? Yeah, it's Mille Lacs.
Right down in the bottom corner. And these are pictures of the home and the drain field. And again, same pictures. He does have it capped, but it was not capped by a licensed professional. He had done it himself. We would like to move forward with an inspection.
Is there anybody who has any questions for?
No questions. I would make the motion to move forward.
Do we have a second?
Second, Barrows.
Motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Barrows. Is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Next thing on the agenda is the per diem charge for Port.
All right, now it's my turn.
Yes. Thanks,
Good morning,
Krista.
Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'm here today to provide some additional information with regard to the proposed rate increase requested by Port Group Homes, specifically how that might impact Crow Wing County moving forward. In your board packets and up on the screen today is some information on port placements and costs from 2018 to 2022. This analysis shows the 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year average of the cost difference based on the approved rate and the new request. So as you can see up on the left-hand corner of the screen is the breakdown of the 5-year cost. So you can see the number of youth that were in placement in 22, 21, 20, 2019, and 2018. That cost, the number of days that that youth was in placement during that calendar year. Moving down to the pink shaded area, that would be the 5-year average cost based on the average number of youth in being 569 days that youth were in placement during that 5-year time frame. As you can see, the 2023 cost average for the approved rate would be $144,554, and the cost on the new proposed per diem rate would be $158,000, making an additional cost of about $14,157. That same analysis is done in the green shaded area for the 3-year average of 700 youth or 700 days in placement, and that additional cost would be $17,423 average. And then we also did the 1-year based on the 2022 number of days Crow Wing had youth in placement was 692. And that cost would be very similar to the 3-year average, about a $200 difference of $17,223. So in looking at those three differences, I think it's important to note too that the last 3 years have not been normal either for any of us in today's world. So I think it might be important to take that 5-year average into account, and that being the $14,157 additional cost it would be with that new proposed rate by port. Are there any questions regarding that? We would request that this request be supported. Just on a side note, I did pull rates across the state and compared what their increase in rates were for other similar facilities licensed similarly who offer the same services. And this increased rate would be about middle of the road when you consider all placements statewide. Not the lowest, not the highest, but really in that average range in 2023.
Madam Chair.
Yes?
Just a question, being that this was not, here we are 2 months into our fiscal year, and it wasn't, but this increase wasn't budgeted for. Any idea where the money's going to come to pay for this, or is there enough cushion? Where's the money going to come from?
Yes, Commissioner, we did look at that, and we would not increase that out-of-home placement budget that has been looked at, and it's built into the budget. We would not increase that.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair? Was there any way you would have known about this a little bit ahead of time, Krista? It's come, like, I go to Paul, it's coming kind of in after the fact. Is it just something that just happened to come up, or why are we, could have it been in our budget?
I believe there was an increase in December, and then, yes, it did come up since then.
Okay.
I will say this isn't the only facility that I have worked with across the state. We had a similar situation with another facility, and I did call and ask that question, and they had indicated their reason was because one of their mental health providers' rates increased and they were just made aware. I don't know the situation with Port, but that was the reasoning for that facility.
But we do have the money in the budget, or there's money there. We don't have to go way outside or anything, or nothing's going to have to drop because we're increasing this.
Correct, Commissioner.
Okay. Just one of those, once in a while, these things happen,
Yes.
and we're here to address it.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? What are your wishes?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Barrows. I would like to make the motion to support this increase. I think that it's important for us to have these services and to support them. And there are situations where these things arise without warning. So that would be my motion at this point.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Barrows, a second by Commissioner Hoag. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag, Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job.
Okay. The sheriff is next on the agenda. Do you have anything you'd like to share?
I don't, thank you.
Okay. And the county attorney, you are next.
Good morning, everyone. I have nothing for you today, but I certainly can answer any questions you may have of me.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thanks. County administrator.
Have a good day.
You too.
Madam Chair, members of the board, there was no senior management team meeting yesterday for lack of agenda items. I think I've told you before, we don't meet for the sake of meeting. We meet if we have something to meet about. We didn't have anything to meet about yesterday, so we didn't meet. I have a request for board action in your packet. This is a follow-up to a conversation that you held at the last committee of the whole about emergency medical services, equipment, and training needs. In a nutshell, the state of Minnesota has provided resources to counties for a long time to supply the equipment and training for first responder EMS groups. These are volunteer groups throughout the county. They exist in areas outside of cities because in a city, the ambulance can get there that fast. This is for services out in our more rural parts of the county. The state has historically funded it through two sources. One, a grant, a general appropriation from the general fund. Two, a second appropriation from the general fund, and they tied the amount of the second appropriation to the total amount of seatbelt fine revenue. There's a variety of reasons why seatbelt fine revenue has gone down over the course of time to the point where now they are funded at about half the rate that they were funded in 1989. So that is a pretty significant drop in their finances as a result of the 11 county joint powers that we're part of with other counties to provide this training and equipment needs. They're going to run out of money to supply these things for our local EMS groups. Their current prediction is about 2 to 3 years out. And so trying to make sure that we have the adequate training and equipment for our first responder groups is exceptionally important to us. So this is encouraging the legislature to address the issue. Seatbelt fine revenue just isn't an adequate and ongoing funding source that's stable enough. These are life-saving pieces of equipment, and so it is unusual that we would fund life-saving pieces of equipment with charitable gambling proceeds, with fundraising proceeds. If this is life-saving equipment, it should be funded by the state out of the general fund with whatever revenue streams they have that are stable and ongoing. And so this is a letter that would authorize the chair to send a letter on behalf of the board to advocate on behalf of getting more funding, more stable funding for EMS teams throughout the county.
Okay, there's a copy of the letter in our packet. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion for me to sign this?
Madam Chair, I would like to make that motion.
Okay, and I heard Commissioner Coring, I believe, or was it Commissioner Barrows?
Commissioner Barrows, and I would second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Lubke, a second by Commissioner Barrows. Is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye, motion passes.
Madam Chair, that's all I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you may have related to county government.
All right, and I've got the letter signed here. Additional business. Doug?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Coring and myself have been discussing the rate at which some of the bills are moving through in St. Paul, particularly those around the Second Amendment. So we drafted up a resolution that would allow the county's position to be known. That, I believe everybody has a copy of that. And Paul, did you have anything to add? But I guess it's just, it's concerning as to how quickly some of these things are moving. So we felt the urgency to try to get our position known sooner than later.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Paul?
Yeah. You know, I really don't have too much to elaborate on what Commissioner Hoag said, but I think in the discussion that Commissioner Hoag and myself had and the quickness that we're seeing the legislature move with all one party of the legislature, I know that I'm concerned about people's rights that are in my district, and I felt like this was, Commissioner Hoag and myself felt like this was important to let our legislators know that that our county is concerned about people's rights, and so that's really the purpose of this resolution today, and I hope people can support it.
And I'd like to add something. We've gone through this before, and I know Commissioner Coring and I are very on board with the Second Amendment. I also know that our sheriff has sent a letter, and he feels the same way that I think now the three of us for sure do, and I will be supporting this totally.
Madam Chair, if I might, this is Commissioner Barrows, and I would like to weigh in at this time. In knowing that this issue might come before the county board again, I've taken into consideration a few things. First, I think it's appropriate to acknowledge the passion the gun rights advocates have for the Second Amendment. I think their concern about the expediency of some of these pieces of legislation moving through the legislature is warranted. I also think that the oath of office that we take when elected to our respectful offices requires us to support the U.S. and the state of Minnesota constitutions. So when, as a county board and staff members meet with our local legislative members, both on a federal and state level, the first question they always have for us is, what is the legislative number you're referencing? And I think that's a good question because this clarifies exactly what the conversation is about. And if there's no legislation that's identified, it could not be appropriate to, or would not be appropriate to support or not support the narrative. So today, this resolution asks the county board to take a position on a very general topic, the Second Amendment. And to my knowledge, there's not been any request to support or not support any specific piece of legislation, only a generality. And because of that, I cannot support a board resolution that does not provide clarity, only generalities. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other discussion?
Madam Chair, I haven't sat on this board very long, and so I know you folks here have dealt with this, I think, in previous years.
Yes.
So for myself, I'd like to do a little more homework on it, but I also understand the board has dealt with this before, so that's all I wanted to add to that. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to vote.
Okay. Sheriff, is there anything you'd like to add? Because I do know that you sent out an email about this.
You know, the letter speaks for itself. That's, you know, that I wrote. And I already think that we...
Commissioner Hoag, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Coring and Commissioner Barrows are not going to be able to hear you.
Oh, sorry.
They need to.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think the letter that I wrote already speaks for itself. I don't think there's anything more to add to it. I think we already have laws in place that cover negligent use of a firearm. We need to use the current laws that we have in place currently, and if there's a problem with those laws, then we should change those, where we should amend them, but not just make up new laws.
Thank you so much. Okay. Is there any other discussion? And what do we want to do?
Madam Chair, I would make the motion to approve Resolution 2023-12 regarding Second Amendment dedicated county.
Madam Chair, Paul Coring here, I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hoag, a second by Commissioner Coring. Is there any more discussion?
Madam Chair, just a point of housekeeping. We already have Resolution 2023-12. We're up to 22. So that would be the number. I'm not sure where that came from, but this resolution will be 22.
It's on the paper that we were given.
Thank you.
It says it on a piece of paper here.
Just so there's no confusion.
Okay, we'll change that to 2023-22. Okay.
Ready for the vote?
Yep, there's no more discussion.
Commissioner Barrows?
No.
Commissioner Hoag?
Yes.
Commissioner Lebke?
Present.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we go into a closed session next.
Madam Chair, it would be appropriate to have a motion to go into closed session for purposes of labor negotiation strategy pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.03, Subdivision 1, Subpart B.
Make the motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hoag to
I'll
close the
second that.
meeting. Second by Commissioner Lubke. All those in favor?
Commissioner Hoag? Commissioner Lubke?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye, motion carries.
Motion carried.
Okay.
We are live.
All right.
Good morning, Commissioners and Madam Chair. Today I'm presenting the AFSCME contract settlement. This is a group that has 83 employees that span throughout our campus, from our administrative services to our county attorney's office to our highway team. This is a group that is aligned 100% to our performance base pay plan. They're also on our county insurance. Some of the key recognition items for this contract that came to settlement were revised pay schedules for 2024 and 2025. They have a clothing allowance increase for both our land services and our sheriff's office by $100 for each of those groups. Lead pay, we have leads that are in those departments that lead processes and lead teams. We move that from $1 to $1.50 per hour. Healthcare spending account is an account that is for employees that are not eligible for retiree health insurance. We increase that by $5 from $35 to $40. And then we continue to clean up the language that we have in our contracts to make them clean, consistent throughout all of our 11 bargaining contracts that we have. And then this is an agreement for a 3-year contract with our AFSCME group. Again, a very amenable group that we bargain with here at the county. Any questions for me?
Madam Chair, a motion would be in order,
So move.
presumably to approve the contract.
Huh?
To approve the contract?
To approve, yes. I'm sorry.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hoag, a second by Commissioner Lubke. Is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye, motion carries.
Madam Chair, I think we would be remiss if we did not thank Mel for her service to Crow Wing County. Friday will be Mel's last day as our HR director. She's moving on to greener pastures.
I hope, maybe one day.
She's just done a wonderful job for us in particular in our recruiting and our retention and our employee engagement and our peer support programs. Mel's fingerprint is going to be on this organization for quite a few years to come. And so that's a nice legacy to leave behind you. And
Thank
so
you.
I think we would be remiss if we did not say thank you for your service.
Thank you. Been a pleasure.
Thank
Been a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you, Mel.
Madam Chair, it would now be in order to go into closed session to conduct performance reviews for 2 people. The Veteran Service Officer, Eric Flowers, is first, and then I am second. This is pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05, Subdivision 3, Subpart A, for both of those closed sessions. So it's one closed session for 2 people. It's the same statute. So when you're done with Eric's, then give me a call. Someone give me a call. I'll come up. And then after mine is done, then you go back into open session for adjournment. A summary of the performance review will be published as part of the consent agenda at the next county board meeting.
All right. Can I
A
have a
motion would be in
motion to
order.
close?
What are we doing?
Make a motion, I make a motion to close.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Lubke, second by Commissioner Hoag to close. All those in favor?
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
We'll start all over. Okay.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lubke, second by Commissioner Hoag. All those in favor?
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you.